Ladies and gentlemen, this is a PSA. If you are offended by this video, just imagine how many people are offended of innocent lives being taken away due to police officers around the states not following proper protocol and lives taken in the hands of the people who are supposed to protect us. Killing lives, taking lives away, and throwing it up under the rug as if our lives don't matter. It's time to speak up. Speak truth to power. Enough is enough.
West side.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2. When I leave the house today, I don't know if I'm coming back. It's a cold world outside. You and I both know that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fight for struggle, liberation, and justice continues to go onward and forward in Prince George's County, Maryland. Momentarily, you're going to see advocates, organizers, organizations join with the family of DeMonte Warblake in Prince George's County, Maryland, as they fight to get justice for their son, as their son has been directly impacted by the hands of law enforcement in Prince George's County, Maryland.
We have no choice because nothing else has solved the problem. Now, we want to make sure that all of the elected officials involved in this case act from this moment on with a sense of urgency that reflects how comprehensive, how widespread, how to the bone the culture of policing is in this county that must be changed. And so because of the catastrophic and pervasive and devastating nature of DeMonte's injuries, we will be asking the jury to award an equivalent amount of damages against the county. And then an additional measure of damages as punitive damages against the officer who intentionally did this to young Mr. Ward. Now, what is the compensation about? It's about the 653 days of living hell that DeMonte spent as a paralyzed man. Not able to walk, not able to move, confined to a wheelchair, not able to use his arms properly, not able to use his hands, his feet, not being able to bathe himself, not being able to help himself. He required a level of care for this instance that was not provided by the county in its infinite wisdom. And so we're here for a black life that matters.
Come on now. Come on now.
A black life that matters. That's not to say other lives don't matter. And let's don't get it twisted. The reason we say black lives matter is because it's been so long before our society recognizes the truth of that statement. We don't say black lives matter in a vacuum. We say black lives matter because until recently, you couldn't tell whether they mattered or not when it came to the police departments in this country. You couldn't tell whether or not it mattered in the judiciary of this country. Time after time, police officers have gotten away with it. But not this time. Not this time. Not this time. So thank you for coming out today. Thank you for marking this as the beginning of a long legal journey for this family. And the right thing to do is to make sure that this case is resolved as quickly as possible so that justice, which if delayed is denied, will not be delayed in this case.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. To piggyback on what Mr. Murphy talked about, the depravity of the act that happened to DeMonte, it's important to note that he suffered neck fractures in his C4 and C5 vertebrae so severe that his C4 vertebrae was actually snapped in half by this officer. The force and the depravity of what happened to DeMonte is something that this county shall not and will not and can never ignore. And that is why we filed this lawsuit today. For this family, for DeMonte's mother, Renee Ward, who had to suffer those 653 days with him, for the rest of his family, his grandmother, Belinda Blake, who is here with us, his aunt, Rashonda Blake, who is here with us. And I'd like you now to hear from Rashonda Blake, who was very close with DeMonte, so you can hear about the experiences, the harrowing experiences that this family had to deal with while DeMonte was still living.
My name is Rashonda Blake, and I'm DeMonte Ward Blake. I'm DeMonte Ward Blake's aunt. This is Regina Blake, DeMonte Ward Blake's aunt. This is Renee Ward, DeMonte Ward's mom. This is Belinda Blake, DeMonte's grandmother. This is DeMonte Ward Blake's sister, his little sister, his only sister. Excuse me. Regina Blake took care of DeMonte his last days. Laying in the bed, couldn't eat. He couldn't feed himself. He couldn't drink on his own. He couldn't mobilize his cellular device. This is the person that's still with him every day while everyone was at work. When she got off work, days she couldn't go to work, days that she had to spend time with her children, every minute, every second she ran to support him. Him laying in the bed, couldn't sit up on his own. He could barely express himself, crying, depressed. This is the person that stood with him at least 6 days out of 7 days, 2 or 3 times a day. He called him, FaceTime, what you doing? He just wanted somebody to talk to. He wanted somebody to love him. He had friends and family around him. But this is the person that stood by his side no matter what. From day in, day out. We went out of town on vacation. He called her. He FaceTimed her every day because he wanted somebody to talk to. Don't leave me. Don't hang up. Call me back. Why didn't you call me back? This is the person that stood there, changed his diapers. He had diapers. He had a catheter on his private area. This is the person that ran every day to try to be there to bathe him. Can you scoot me over? I fell off the bed. Can you brush my teeth for me? I know I can't eat, but could you give me something anyway? I'll spit it back out. I can barely swallow, but can you be here for me? This is the person that was there with him every single day. October 17, 2019 changed our lives forever. The inability to understand that the power of a badge does not equate to the physical abuse of citizens left my nephew paralyzed. How can an unarmed, detained individual be a threat to not but 2 officers of the law? A handcuffed individual with no weapon in hand on their body on the ground or in the vehicle cannot be a threat to someone who is trained for weeks to de-escalate a situation. Explain to me how a traffic stop that resulted in a driving with a suspended license consulted a neck injury that would have my nephew paralyzed. My nephew was driven around for hours before he received medical attention. That was unacceptable. How many unarmed black men have to suffer before justice is served? Before some who are sworn to protect and serve are responsible for their actions. October 17, 2019 left my nephew paralyzed physically and mentally. October 17, 2019 left my family paralyzed mentally. DeMonte would take my niece, his little sister, to school every day. It was their bonding time, taking pictures and making videos with one another. No one asked him to. He did it from the kindness of his heart and for the love that a big brother would do for his only baby sister. So not only that it messed up my nephew, but it disturbed a 5-year-old routine. Quite frankly, DeMonte would bond with his niece playing video games. His only niece. She couldn't be here today. They can never get this time back. They only have faint memories of DeMonte that would fade away over time. They have been deprived a lifetime of memories. DeMonte wanted kids, but this is a dream that he will never be able to manifest. October 17, 2019 traumatized my sister, DeMonte's mother. She gets excited just thinking about the suffering her son went through at the time at the hands of the police, the PG police department. No mother wants to see their child hooked up to machines and fight for their life, especially because an individual with a badge abused their power. Ever since my nephew passed, my sister walks around lifeless. Her firstborn is gone. It's hard to tell whether she's coming or going. It pains me to see her sad like this. The police are trying to say that they are not the reason for my nephew's death. However, October 17, 2019 was just a regular traffic stop. He wouldn't be standing here today. He would be standing here today. If October 17, 2019 had ended up in a regular ticketing or towing of the car, my nephew would be here to protect himself later days, suffering. He couldn't help himself. So although they didn't physically kill my nephew, he was in a wheelchair. He could not defend himself. That left no other option for him to defend himself. Indirectly, they are responsible for the passing of my nephew. PG County Police Department does not want to take appropriate responsibility for their actions. My family and our team of lawyers are calling for justice. We will continue to fight until justice is served. Say his name, DeMonte Ward Blake.
DeMonte Ward Blake.
DeMonte Ward Blake.
DeMonte Ward Blake.
October 17, 2019.
October 17, 2019.
Justice will be served.
Justice will be served.
Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Rashonda. Next, we have with us as well several community advocates, folks who have stood in the gap for this community over the decades and have borne witness to the brutality that has occurred to residents all over this county. I first called to the podium Kima Hutchinson Harris of Community Action. To Community Justice, my apologies.
That's all right.
Good, David.
That's all right. I want to first thank Murphy, Falcom, and Murphy the Billy Murphy and Attorney Rudd for hosting this press conference. I want to tell the family of DeMonte, this is what community support looks like. And you're not alone. You have mothers behind you that lost their loved ones before you took the time. And they showed up for you. Because that's what this community that you see behind you is willing to do. We're with you for the journey. Billy Murphy really summed it up about what we've been dealing with for decades in this county. It's important that we know what DeMonte went through. It's important that we know what his family continues to go through while Bryant Strong sits at home with his family. Okay? Even though this is not the first, it saddens me that it may not be the last if nothing is done. If nothing is done now about police being able to harm our community members with no accountability, and we're left to just sue them for monetary support, then that's what we got to do. But there is another road not taken. There is another road not taken. We can start holding people accountable who do not keep us safe. We can start holding those people who are put in positions to keep us safe and not doing it accountable. I feel so horrible being here almost 5 years later, preaching the same thing. It's disheartening. It's very disheartening. I'm glad to see Malcolm Ruff and Billy Murphy speaking truth to what the problems is, the issues is in this county, and being able to hold the county accountable legally for what they've done to this family and many more. I wish you all could hear from all the mothers that's behind me, all the pain that they go through, and all their cries have fell on deaf ears. You have mothers behind, a mother behind us that's been fighting for 2 decades. You hear me? So it's just like enough. Okay, Jonathan Newton, Attorney Newton told me this. He said the way you fight police accountability is to unelect those who don't. We want to make a statement. We got to start holding people accountable for what this county continues to go through. We cannot let officials turn a blind eye anymore to what's going on in this county. We have to hold them accountable. This does not have to stop here, you guys. Everybody that you see behind us, we can stay connected with this family. And we can see her through this journey, as we did others, as people did for me. I am Kevin Sneed's mom, a police brutality survivor. I don't know what this mother is feeling, but I can empathize. I can empathize with this mother. And so many more people behind me. The time has to stop. When I say, if DeMonte don't get justice, y'all say, then they don't get no peace. If DeMonte don't get no justice,
No peace!
if DeMonte don't get no justice,
No peace!
that's how I'm gonna leave it. Y'all take care.
And
All by myself, bang bang, it's just not fair. God, can I see my mom again before you take me there? Shot right in the heart, not too long ago. By a golden bullet, they tried to move on, but the pain is too strong. You can march 1,000 marches, walk up 1,000 streams. You can fight 1,000 soldiers, but that don't mean a thing. They can send the man to prison, death penalty either way, but the fact still remains in its days. We got another fallen soldier, oh. soldier. Oh, no. Verdict done said he's free. Now where's the justice and order? I don't got words to speak. What if I was your child? Would you come with the same answer? This justice system's weak. If the tables turn, would we get the same answer?